G'day and welcome to the Silly Point podcast. Tonight I'm joined by Declan Hooper in Brisbane and Tushar in India. Welcome, gentlemen. We're here to talk about the great win by England in the first test in Chennai. Now, Tush, I don't know whether you've had much reaction in India. I presume not a good reaction.
Well, there's been quite a bit of reaction, and people aren't happy. Obviously, people have had different reactions. But some are saying, "Oh, this is just like the Australia series. We lost the first test, but we bounced back. 3 more tests to go." And some others are panicking. Obviously, some are even calling for Kohli's head. Some are calling for Rahane's head. So
Right.
there's a bit of mixed reaction. But obviously, mostly it's negative, and people are not happy.
Where do you think it went wrong for India? Obviously, that 587 in the first innings for England sort of was the key to it all. Do you think they could have bowled better in that first innings?
Yeah, definitely. Every time a team concedes more than 500 runs, they could have done some things better. But I think they got their selection wrong. No one would have expected Nadeem to play. No one would have expected Washington Sundar. I mean, really, maybe Washington Sundar was okay, but he didn't bowl well enough. The Pacers did okay. They took a few wickets, but the spinners, I think, other than Ashwin, India was down by their spinners, and I just that just set the tone for the rest of the game, and now they find themselves in a tough position both in the series and the World Test Championship tour table.
What do you think that Kuldeep Yadav has done wrong? He doesn't seem to be able to get a place in the side, despite being a bowler that a lot of people can't pick. Do you think he's done something wrong? Or do you think he should have played maybe?
Yeah, I don't know why he's not playing. I think before the 2019 World Cup, he was one of the best spinners in the world, and like he was so hard to pick every time. Australia used to face him, especially they used to struggle. And I don't know what has happened since the 2019 World Cup. After that, he struggled in the IPL, but since then he hasn't been picked in any of the three formats. And I think some people are saying that he did some things wrong in the IPL, and that is why he's not getting picked, and maybe something to do with his uh, off-field behavior or something. I don't know, but that's what some people are saying, that something happened in the IPL, and that has, put the selectors off from picking him.
Do you think there'll be some changes for the second test? Obviously, it's in the same place, so England will fancy their chances of making another big score if they win the toss. Obviously, the toss is key, but do you think they'll make some changes in the Indian team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's no need to panic because there are still 3 test matches to go. But I think India will definitely make some changes. I think Ashwin is definitely going to start, but maybe Sundar might be dropped. Maybe they'll look for someone to bolster their batting as well, because India only got what 337 in their first innings, which wasn't quite a good total. The likes of Virat Kohli and both the openers struggled, so I think that is something that they may look at. But most importantly, it'll be their bowling. That is where they might think of making a change or two.
Just Tushar, just in terms of the pitch in Chennai, obviously, the first couple of days it seemed very hard and a bit of a road, to be honest with you. Could you foresee a world where there's any kind of changes to that pitch for the second test?
Not quite. I think it'll be more of the same. Maybe it'll be a bit more. It'll be a bit more friendly to the spinners, especially if the same pitch is used, obviously. But yeah, I think it's going to be more of the same, and bat first, bat long, and then you don't have to bat again. Hopefully, that's what it's going to be like for both captains of the toss.
I still think that India could make early inroads. If they do make early inroads, they get their route out. That could be the difference between making 500 and 300. We saw what happened when Pujara got out in that second innings. That the rest of the batsmen didn't know how to play. I don't think they're used to having the rock up the one end, and they sort of build their innings around him, don't they? And that's why he's so crucial to what they do. And Root's the same for England.
Yeah, and even so, like Sri Lanka had a bit of success getting the openers out early, getting Johnny Bairstow out early. So if India can get the top three out early, then Joe Root will be under pressure. And I mean, yeah, it has to come from the Pacers. They have to start well, and get Burns and Sibley out early. Lawrence obviously struggled in the first Test match, so he will be fighting for his place. He will be under pressure. So they can get those three out early. Then Root will come in maybe in the first session, and then he will be thinking, okay, maybe I have to bat more carefully, and he might make a few mistakes. So that's what you have to look for early wickets.
Yeah, Declan. Looking back to that the last day, Jimmy Anderson once again he just ceases. Oh, it doesn't cease to me. He continues to astound people. He's 38 years old. He's fitter than he's ever been. Joe Root says. And he turns up with that over of all overs to rival the one by Andrew Flintoff against Justin Langer and Ricky Ponting in 2005 Ashes. It's just incredible, wasn't it?
It was a joy to watch. I mean, he's I think we've said this before. He is like a fine wine. He just keeps getting better, and like I'd put that up against any over I've seen ever. He has had question marks in the past about whether he can do it in away from home and outside of England, but I think like his trip to the subcontinent this year has been pretty fruitful for him, all things considered.
I put him up there. Well, Joe Root says he's the GOAT of English cricket. I put him up there. I reckon he's the GOAT of all seam bowlers, as in not necessarily outright pace or anything like that. I'm not putting him in a class of a pace bowler like Malcolm Marshall or he's probably the greatest quick bowler that I've ever seen. But as far as swing bowling, I'd put Jimmy Anderson at the top of the tree ahead of like Wakar and Wasim. I think those two sort of like led the way for reverse swing bowling back in the 80s, and Imran Khan was in there too. But I think Jimmy Anderson's sort of moved it on another level. He seems to be the master of that. And there could be a case that he could be left out for the second test because of this rotation. I don't know whether England will go with Stuart Broad and Jofra Archer, or they go with Anderson and Broad. I'm not sure how they'll go with it.
I was going to ask you that, Phil. Do you think his actual longevity, and I mean, we keep saying he's aging like a fine wine, but do you think that is partly because of this rotation policy that England seems to be adopting? I mean, we like coming from an Australian perspective, we've seen countless like pace bowlers kind of break down in their early 30s, and really not have the same impact. Jimmy Anderson's now 38, as you said, and he looks as good as he's ever been.
Yeah, that could be the case. It could be that they change it. They've only really done that over the last couple of years, so maybe they've done that just to try and make lengthen his career. He doesn't play one day games. He doesn't play T20, so he's only concentrating on Test cricket. So that'd be another thing, a bit like Stuart Broad. I think that's possibly the way forward for other teams is to have specialist teams rather than players that play all three. That might have been something that David Warner has struggled with over the last couple of years. He's playing all three formats, and he's maybe he's getting worn out a bit more. And so maybe that's why Jimmy Anderson is able to carry on as he is. Personally, I can't see how they can drop him or rest him because obviously what he'd done in that Test match. I presume there'll be some reverse swing on the same pitch, and you'd want him to be there. I think maybe Jofra Archer might be the one they leave out, and they play Stuart Broad in this one because he can do reverse swing as well. Jofra's obviously just pure pace, and he wasn't. He was effective early on, but he wasn't as effective as Anderson throughout the Test match. Sorry.
And just from an Indian perspective, I mean, Dom Bess, it really seems a bit of a coming out for him this last Test match. from an Indian perspective, how good do you think he was?
Yeah, I mean, he was very good. I mean, obviously Nathan Lyon struggled against India just a couple of months ago, so I think he may have watched him a bit, and I think Jack Leach as well. Both of them kind of had a lot of fun, I think, against India, and I was surprised to see the effect that Tom Best had. I did not expect him to, obviously, but yeah, I was quite surprised to see like a spinner like him with not that much experience, only a couple of overseas test series so far, him making such a big impact in India. But obviously, India will also feel that they did not play him as well as they should have. Leach, I think, went for 6 or 7 runs and over, and or I think at least at one point when Pant was batting, he was going at 6 or 7 runs and over. So uh, I think they maybe missed a trick by not attacking Best from the other end as well in the first innings, and then you saw it in the second innings. Best went for, I think, 50 runs in 8 overs. So India will feel that okay, they can score runs off him, and they can make him ineffective. And on the other end, then Jack Leach had a good time. I think he took 4 wickets. So both of them, like in one innings, one of them had a good played well, and in the other innings, it was the other one. So India will have to make sure that they can make both of them ineffective. Then they will be in with a chance of scoring big runs.
I was impressed the way that Jack Leach came back from that assault from Rishabh Pant. He actually managed to get his control back in that second innings, and he was brave. I think he was brave as well. He bowled a different line. He bowled a line outside off stump, which allowed him to. Obviously he got the key wicket, Pujara, so that was crucial to what happened. But he bowled with a lot more control. I think that Dom Bess still needs to work on his control because he bowled a lot of full tosses especially in the second innings. So that's something he needs to work on. But obviously he's a young kid. He knows that he's going to have to work on that. And I think the good thing about it is Joe Root is willing to throw them the ball. He's not frightened if they get a better tap. He just says, right, okay, boys, just work on it and see if you can come back from it. And to be fair, Jack Leach definitely turned it around in the second innings when it was probably under more pressure because of what happened in the first innings. So I was quite impressed with Jack Leach actually. He is, and after what we said about maybe leaving one of those two out for Moeen Ali, I think we probably England looked like they got their selection right, whereas India might have got theirs slightly wrong by not playing another specialist spinner.
India may have been a bit spoiled for choice here because in Australia they did not have much choice, so they just had to give it their all. They knew, okay, we only have 11 players, so we have to give it our all, and if we don't do it, no one else will. But India, I think this time they were spoiled for choice, and they got a few things wrong. Maybe they'll work on it before the second test. England, on the other hand, they're fresh. They seem well rested. I think they're handling their rotation policy really well. So I think that was the difference, and I think maybe a bit of overconfidence as well. India were like having a bit of a hangover from the Australia series, so that might be a bit of the reason for that first test defeat.
Maybe they were a little bit overconfident too. I think the first time they've lost at home in 8 years, isn't it, or something like that? They don't lose at home, do they, Tush? It's like it's unheard of. I mean, I think it's 8 times in 50 tests they've lost at home. They haven't won all those.
But to be fair, most of those tests have come against Sri Lanka or the West Indies. So
yeah, right, okay, yeah.
I think they haven't faced Australia or England before this series in a long time. So
maybe a bit of overconfidence.
Yeah, maybe. I think that could be it. And Australia, the hangover from Australia as well, because they built it up really high and now they're going down low again.
Speaking of Jack Leach and obviously Nadeem, we saw Rishabh Pant and Ben Stokes in their respective innings really target spinners and try and almost score to run a ball. And obviously there was different scenarios into play there. But with Rishabh Pant, he's done that now 3 tests in a row. how effective do you think that is moving forward? I mean, obviously, a lot of people give him criticism for the risks he takes and that kind of thing, but I'd argue that what is risk when he plays that game so well, and it has been fruitful for him in the last couple of Test matches.
Yeah, I mean, he's in great form right now. I mean, he hit something like 90 odd runs in the first innings, and his counter-attacking helped India get a respectable score, and I think India were in the game at least to earn a draw when Rishabh Pant was playing. So I think it's reaping its rewards. Like the risk is proving to be effective, and right now at least. But the thing is, when he's in form right now, when he maybe in a few tests he will be out of form, and then his risk may not be worth to India. So then he may have to play a bit more carefully, and because if he doesn't play carefully and if he takes more risks and he's out of form and he gets out, then he puts India in a big trouble, because right now Rahane is not performing too well. Pujara, he's doing okay. Kohli, he's doing okay. But again, India's the five bowlers below him, other than Washington Sundar, I don't think many of them can bat. So he's the glue between the top and the middle, top and the lower order. So he's vital. So he needs to score runs, and also he needs to keep his wicket. So it's a bit of making sure that he gets it right, and like gets it right. Like he has to ensure that he doesn't take too many risks so that he gives his wicket away cheaply.
Yeah. Tush, I was going to ask you about Rohit Sharma as well. Do you think he's always seen someone who's like sort of like devised like division between people about whether he should be at the top of the order or the middle order? Do you think he's under pressure? He's obviously coming towards more towards the end of his career than the beginning of his career. I mean, he's still a class player, but do you think he's under pressure, or is it the fact that India's top order haven't performed, so they're sticking with what they got?
Yeah, I think he's going to be under pressure. I think he'll play in the second test, but if he doesn't perform there, I think India have a few players, KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal, both of them could be in with a chance of replacing him. But yeah, he's kind of like Pant. He's not afraid to take his risks. He's not afraid to take on bowlers. We saw he hit a 6 off Archer, I think, in the second innings, and then he got out. He has a knack of doing that, like Matthew Wade and Rishabh Pant, like giving his wicket away. And if he was in form right now and he was scoring 50 runs off 60 balls before getting out, no one would have any complaints. But he's a bit out of form right now, and kind of like Pant, he has to measure his playing time, and he has to measure that and ensure that he gets the balance between taking risks and making sure that he doesn't lose his wicket cheaply.
It seems to me that Shubman Gill and him are sort of similar type players, whereas in the past they've had somebody who can stay around at the top and there's somebody who's at the other end that plays their shot, so they've got a bit of a yin and yang sort of situation, but they're very similar, aren't they? So like at the moment, Pujara's coming in when it's like 1 for 25, 1 for 30, when he'd rather be coming in at 1 for 100, I'm sure, or 1 for 150.
Yeah, definitely. Pujara is also under a bit of pressure. He did not play as well in the second innings, but again, he got 70 odd runs in the first, so I don't think you can place the blame on him. He's doing quite a good job, and he has done over the last so many years. I think the openers still have to do a lot better job. Shubman Gill, he's proving to be quite a find for India right now. He's still only 21, and he's going to get lots of chances, even if he fails, which he isn't doing right now. So, yeah, I think maybe if things don't improve in the second test, maybe Rohit Sharma will be the one to pay the price.
Yeah. And moving on from India's top order to England. So we've had many discussions about England's top order and the troubles that they have had. We saw a bit of a mixed bag again in this test match. Obviously, you got Dom Sibley making runs. But then other than that, it was all kind of starts, but but not carrying on with it, which seems to be the story of the top orders for England for a while now.
Yeah. That seems to be the story for top orders right the way through Test cricket. Actually, like it seems to be that the ones that are coming in and saving the runs are Steve Smith and Virat Kohli and Kane Williamson, because the top order's not doing their job. So the pressure's on that like 3, 4, and 5 to step in and make the runs. Where in the past it would have been the openers that needed to do their job. Rory Burns got out cheaply in the first, and then obviously then got a go first baller in the second inning. So he might be under pressure, but like you say, Tush, I don't think England have got many choices other than the group that's in their bubble. So it's not. There's nobody that can come in and take his place. Zach Crawley, I'm not sure what his shoulder injury situation is, so whether he comes in, I don't know. He might come back in for Dan Lawrence if he's fit. We know that Joss Butler will be missing in the second test. He's not going to be there. I don't think so. Ben Foakes will come in for him. They don't really lose much for that, because they reckon that Ben Foakes is the best gloveman in England, and he's also they could definitely bat. So, and the way that Joss Butler batted in England's second innings, it's like I'm not sure they missed much of that really. So there'll be some changes for England, but I don't think it'll be changes for the sake of making changes, just like because of situations and all the bubble and stuff like that. So I don't think England want to make changes after winning so comprehensively.
Yeah, I mean, it does sometimes get understated. I mean, Joss Butler took a few really, really good catches. Actually, England in general, some of the catches, I mean, you saw Joe Root's catch as well, were pretty superb. At Ben Stokes too. So, I mean, while Joss Butler seems to be a bit of a lightning rod for criticism, especially with the English media, I do think, like, as far as wicket-keeping batsmen go, he's probably one of the better ones in the world.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Foakes comes in and does. I mean, obviously, you've also got Johnny Besto. I don't know what his situation is, but that can keep too. So it's a bit of an embarrassment of riches for wicket-keeper batsmen for England at the moment.
They've also got Sam Billings as well, who's around. They've got Ollie Pope can keep as well. So they have got embarrassing riches. I think Johnny Besto has just been rested for this series, so I don't think it's because he didn't drop. But then, what do you do with him when they go back to England to play their series against India? Then I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but it'd be interesting to see. I mean, obviously that playing on the same wicket will probably suit England more than India, because they're used to the surroundings. It's not, they don't have to move very far in their bubble or whatever. I think England will be confident going into there. I'm just, but they still need to keep pushing hard and going for the win, because if they want to get to the Test Championship, they need to win the series 3-0 apparently, according to all the stats and figures. So yeah, Indy won't want to let that happen on home soil. That's for sure. It'll be a lot of pride at stake in this second Test, I think. I just want to ask one question about Prithvi Shaw, Tush. What's happening to him? He seems to be like he was the new Tendulkar a couple of years ago, and now he seems to be completely off the radar.
Yeah, I mean, he's been dropped from the squad, and he's playing some domestic cricket now. And I mean, I don't know. He'll probably be given a chance to work on his technique. He's still young. He'll get another chance in the team, maybe a year or two down the road. Hopefully sooner rather than later. He's still a talent, just struggling with a bit of confidence. I think he'll be back, obviously.
What do India have to do then to change things around? I was going to say on a new vet, but they're at the same venue. So I mean, like, I suppose they just got to bat better, haven't they? And maybe win the toss.
Yeah, winning the toss will it's in India. I think winning the toss is
Yeah.
enough to win the game. But obviously, there wasn't much differences between the teams in the first innings, especially. I think Root was the only one who got a big score. Yeah, if they can get Root out cheaply, I don't think England have enough in their batting lineup. Stokes is good; he's world class. But other than Root and Stokes, England don't have too many players who can make those big hundreds or you know make opposition bowlers look weak and ineffective. So I think if they can get Root out early, they'll feel that they're very confident of winning the game. But yeah, I think other than that, maybe just a couple of tweaks in their bowling attack. Bumrah and Ishan did well. Ashwin did really well. But yeah, just maybe bring in Kuldeep Yadav for Nadeem and maybe a slight tweak in their batting order and they'll be good to go. I don't think it's much of an issue. Yeah, no need to panic yet.
Yeah, I think it really can't be understated how well Joe Root his form is at the moment. That's his third 180 in 3 Test matches. Only Kumar Sangakkara was the only other player to do that. That he was pretty immense in that first innings and played all right in the second innings. It has to be said too.
Top scored in the second innings too. So what can you do?
It was a bit of a sight to behold. Really, the way he played and the way he kind of just went through the gears. Started off scoring relatively slowly, but then picked it up from his 50 to 100, and then again from 100 to 200. He was it was like what you show young kids how to bat for a long time. It was textbook, wasn't it?
It was. He's just like I don't think he can be in better form at the moment.
Yeah, with India, we can probably look at how Australia dealt with Joe Root in 2019. I think Joe Root was kept quite to low scores in the Ashes. So I think maybe take a look at how Australia, obviously different conditions, but still, I mean, Joe Root was rendered so ineffective in the Ashes, and I think India might want to take a look at that before the second test.
Australia's key is always been to target the opposition captain, and I think that's pretty way to go, especially when you've got a captain who's that far ahead of everybody else in the batting order. He's like head and shoulders above anybody in that England top 6 at the moment, and he's literally carrying them on his shoulders. Sibley got 87 in that first innings, but wasn't as convincing, nowhere near as convincing as Root was. So India will definitely think to themselves, if we get Root out, we'll get the rest out pretty cheap, and we'll keep them down to a manageable score. Go big in India, and you more than likely win the game. That's normally the key, I think, and that's probably what England will say. We've got to just do exactly the same thing. Obviously, the toss is important. If they win the toss and bat, who knows? But if England lose Joe Root in the first 25 overs, then it's game on, I think.
Just a quick word, sorry, before we go on Ishant Sharma. 300 test wickets for him. Only the third Indian pacer to do so. Can it be understated the impact that he has had on Indian test cricket?
Yeah, definitely. I think we talk about longevity with Jimmy Anderson. He's been playing for quite a while and he's been doing it at the highest level. Yes, he's had quite a few downs and he's not been as consistent as Jimmy Anderson, but he's been quite impactful. Before him, there weren't as many pacers coming through. After, I think, Zahir Khan, he was the one carrying India for quite a while. He was the only pacer performing, consistently. Even he was struggling. But if you look at his performances, some of his performances in Australia and in England, especially, you have to say he's right up there with, some of the best test bowlers in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Must be difficult for a paceman in India. I mean, it's like it's really like a a job that you wouldn't want to do. You wouldn't be given the job of being a pace bowler and having to bowl on slow decks, which
Yeah, and
usually
even if you look at Jasprit Bumrah, it was his first test in India.
yeah.
So don't get.
I couldn't believe that. I did not know that stat. That is incredible that he's never played a home test. That's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it does feel like he's been around for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, crazy. We look forward to the second test. I mean, we look forward to catching up with you again soon, Tushar. Full steam ahead, hey. Exciting couple of weeks still to come in India. Thanks again for joining us, lads. We'll chat again soon. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave your opinions on how you think the test went in the comments below. And we'll catch up again for the next test.